You see why I do believe that we need something that can go up this way. And it's fighting for our country. Not compromising with anything. We have one more speaker, Marilyn Garcia. Marilyn, she's running for Congress. And Marilyn was basically another state rep. You're still state rep. Just another state rep. We have one state rep. Yes. And we're staying behind us. And for you, and of course, you know. So we all had to, and I was the guy who always got in the middle. And you were a slave saver. Yeah, I'm 50, right?
Yeah, but he always had candy. Flags to roast and he produced them all.
Well, my candy had a purpose. It was CACR 26. And I lost it for a long time for it, and you got it now. And anyway, without any further ado, you're running against Andy Custer. And are there any Custer supporters here? I suppose she's predictable. Thank you.
Meet you all, and of course, would love to earn your support. I'm running in the 2nd district, as mentioned, so that includes this town and the southern portion of the state, which is my town, Salem, and of course, runs all the way up the west side of the state to Canada. So I've been running around a lot, lots of ground to cover, but it's been really fun thus far, and enjoying meeting all sorts of different people in all kinds of industries and walks of life that contribute to the fabric of our state. But I just wanted to tell you a little bit about why I'm running and what my vision for that seat in Congress is, and why I think that we're not being served and represented right now by the current occupant. So I first ran for the State House when I was 23 in 2006, and the reason I did that when I first started was I finished college and thought, let me work on a campaign. I got a part-time job and wanted to fill my time at that time working on the midterm election. So I was calling around to see what would be a good race to get involved in, who was someone that represented my values that might need help, and someone suggested to me, why don't you run yourself? So I thought, well, that's a great way to ensure that my values are represented in the State House, naturally. And I decided to try, and I won. And what I found, and I've come to appreciate so much, is that our state, I think, really has one of the most representative, transparent, and really pure citizen legislative bodies in the entire country and probably the world. And that's something I've really come to appreciate. All of what I've come to know about the legislative process and how to apply one's principles, critical thinking skills, good judgment, and the immediate, and then thinking long term as well. I've really come to, I think, hone those skills in the legislature, and I really appreciated that opportunity. So that was just a way to say that those of you that are running, that I've served with before, I appreciate that you're going back there, and I hope some of you that maybe have concerns about the direction our state is going, that you consider getting involved in the process as well. So anyway, during my time there, I was really focused on trying to allow for, because I don't have to say I'm going to create jobs, because government doesn't create jobs, but I want to allow for growth and development in a long-term, economically sustainable way. Things that provide social benefit, things that help solve our brain drain problem, and help us be globally relevant and economically sound and competitive, not only in our region, but in the country and around the world. And to me, that meant helping to try to solve our brain drain problem, also to allow for development in the innovation economy, in the specialty sector and healthcare, and all of these things that really provide services to all allow those that are educated in the state to find jobs here, and then bring in other people that might be interested in getting something going in the state. And there are two things that stick out to me and that I try to focus on. That was one, our regulatory environment, because I think we can see from, the smallest business to, the largest project in the state and federally, the more that the federal government gets involved in layering, administrative and bureaucratic obstacles to development success, the harder it is for anybody to either maintain their business, expand, or start one. So the regulatory environment in healthcare wasn't anything to be proud of in the state, so I was working to free that up, move out some antiquated federal regulations that were in place for a while and help the specialty sector to develop. I also was working in pricing transparency, trying to achieve better health care for more people at a lower cost, which I think is the goal we all share. But the way we seek to do that, and in my view, is we should move to a more innovative, more flexible, more consumer-oriented model, where you, the consumer of these various services, are equipped to take your resources and choose what it is you need that best suits your needs and be able to access it. And what I've seen is that the federal government, and as embodied and supported by Representative Custer, is they're all about making things more controlled by the government, more centralized, more inflexible, and less receptive and adaptable to change and development. So that's a concern for me. I'm a big believer in states' rights, and that is because I think whenever making changes, be they in social policy, economic policy, or just, frankly, experimenting in education, healthcare, that the state is the place to do it. That's where we can make decisions, being the citizens, community leaders, state officials. We can identify our problem and then work to achieve a solution to it. We may fight it out in the legislature, but if we fail, it's better to fail on the state level and maybe be able to change that than to have the federal government say, this is what we're going to do. New Hampshire, you, and California, and everything in between are going to be treated as though they're exactly the same, have the same populations, and have the same problems. We know that's not true, and when that happens on the federal level, what that does is it reduces us all to the lowest common denominator. It makes things inflexible, resistant to change, and is an obstacle to our development. So I decided to run for Congress because I've been working on those things on the state level, and what I find is that we can all be engaged in a vote, working on it, passing and promoting policies to accomplish these things, but if we don't have support from our federal representatives, it's all for naught, because they vote for things that not only prevent New Hampshire from developing and achieving reforms, but they also turn us completely in the wrong direction. So I saw that happen with our healthcare ecosystem in the state, and now we've gotten to an even worse situation where it used to be that people, at least in my lifetime, and I'm sure before that, but you may distrust in some way your elected officials and think they're greedy, corrupt, and lying, and all of that awful stuff, or just are ineffective. But I feel like right now we're at a point in our country where not only do we expect a lot of those things, but we also have evidence to believe that our federal officials are actually purposefully deceiving us to pass policies and then lying about so many other things about it. And then using the government arm of agency and departments to actively persecute us. We have examples of this, of course, with the IRS, with the Benghazi situation, healthcare, again, completely false pretenses that it was foisted upon us. So I think we've seen a complete breakdown in, frankly, the way the government and the citizenry are supposed to interact. We're not even allowed at this point the debate on policy. It's just something that's sold to us, we're lied to, and it's foisted upon us, and then when things don't go the way they ought to, and there are scandals and corruption, then we're just allowed to completely cover up. It's a mess. It's unrecognizable in terms of where support. And I would seek with every vote to prevent the federal government from being an obstacle to New Hampshire's success and development, and to keep the power here in the hands of citizens, of us, to be able to make those decisions. And the other last thing I'll close with this is I've noticed that from the president through all his surrogates, be that Ian Custer, who, by the way, considers herself self-described as the strongest supporter of President Obama in the entire U.S. Congress. She said that on New Hampshire Public Radio a month or so ago. What they always do at this point, it seems to me with every issue, is they make it divisive. They divide us by, race, by gender, by socioeconomic status, by a demographic, and they say, this is a problem, this is an inequality we have in our society. We have too many problems to solve as a country. So as a government, we're going to fix this, we're going to make you all happy, because we're going to make you all equal. We're going to mandate equality of outcome for everybody. We're going to redistribute, fundamentally transform the country, all these things the president has said verbatim. That's the goal that it seems they're seeking to accomplish and are achieving in some ways. What I think has made this country be exceptional at it is today, we've offered equality of opportunity to every American, where from the individual to families to communities up to the state, and beyond, we are equipped to make the decisions that are best for ourselves and our families, and that are empowered because we are unrestricted and free as a citizenry to chart our own course and achieve all of what we want to achieve in every facet of life. And that is what I think has made us successful, and that's what I want to preserve, not only with my votes, but also with my kids. So that is kind of my just a synopsis about where I am and where I'm coming from and where I'm hopefully going. So I really appreciate your support in that. And I have Dante over here is one of my field directors for this area, and he has a sheet that you can sign up if you're not on my mailing list. I'd love to keep you informed about some things we're trying to do, and also, of course, would love your support if you would be willing to introduce me to some friends and neighbors and host a meet and greet or something in your home. That would be great. I love coming to speak to all the different Republican activities we have going on, but it is a little insular. Half the time, half the people there are candidates, and the rest are great, But I'd love to expand, and be talking about these issues in the community. So we have a few things. For example, we run 5Ks in different communities, so we help raise money for a charitable cause in the community. Wear our team shirts, have fun, basically advertise, talk to people, but try to just be involved in things other than, the usual, Republican activities. So that's my goal. If you have any ideas, if there are community service projects or something that my team could be involved in, we'd love to do that and love to see you there. So thank you very much, and I'm happy to take some questions, I guess.
Could you name a couple things you like about the ACA?
Sure. As with most things, well, let me put it this way. One of the problems I see with the way things work or encounter is any time we have a big fatal flaw, be it in immigration, be it in healthcare, they do this comprehensive reform. So what that means to me is they put in some good things and then some bad things. And the people that vote for it are traitors, and the people that vote against it are obstructionists. And then they say, oh, the Congress does nothing, And then half of the people are upset about, what we have to live with. So when it comes to the ACA, there are a lot of things I don't like. Some that were good are, I think, especially at this point in the economy, that people can stay on their parents' health care up to age 26. I think that makes a lot of sense. But we had that in the state before the federal government did it. So again, the state, we figured it out. That was something we needed. Also covered with pre-existing conditions. That's important. That makes sense. That's good. That didn't need to be a part of it. There are a few other things. The electronic medical records, for example, that needed to happen. But these things could stand alone. I would love to work on reforms like those that make sense without raiding Medicare, without putting in a medical device tax that causes job loss and stifles innovation and growth. Why wasn't there any medical malpractice reform in the bill? You know, that was a really important portion of keeping costs down and making medicine affordable. So I guess my point is, sure, there's a jumble of things, but overall, the fact that they took power, stripped it away from all of the states, and just basically are turning all of medicine into something where there'll be 5 major providers and doctors will be government employees if it keeps going this way. I don't think that is the best America. That's why I'm supporting it.
Why do we have to have any form of central control over medicine? And I don't call it healthcare. We talk about healthcare, that's healthcare. What we're talking about is medicine. And what we're talking about is redistributing wealth from healthy people who do not take care of their health. And why, and obviously the only way we're going to do that, the only way that the people like me do to pay for it, is through government force.
So I'm sorry, what was the question?
The question is, why do we need central control of healthcare and medicine?
Well, I definitely don't think central control is the way to start at all, and it's certainly not the way to try to drive it all under that umbrella.
But you said that you approved of central control for insurance up to 26 years old.
No, I'm just
Central
saying
control
those
of
are
electronic
some
records.
positive things, but we did that on the state level
Well,
already.
so why should, and the state do centralized control?
Well, it's a smaller scale. I mean, there are, when there is a particular issue or industry and something to happen at the state level, I'm not saying that I appreciate what has happened in Medicare and how we got to this place in healthcare, but as it exists, I don't think that was negative.
Now, would you vote to repeal Obamacare?
I would. The thing is, though, I'm not one of those that runs around and say, I'm going to go to Washington and repeal Obamacare, because I don't know that vote will ever come to be. If it does, I will certainly support it. But in the meantime, I would love to try to dismantle all of the parts, of individual manual disorder and medical device testing that I think are most egregious, but also keep the whole thing right.
Would you introduce legislation to repeal? You're not opposed to it,
Erlinda, assuming that you end up in Washington in November, if you could pick your committee, do you know what your committee assignments would be if you could pick them? Just also kind of define your hot spot and what your campaign is in Washington.
Yeah, I actually never really looked at it that way, but, there are a lot of things. Sure, I've been involved in healthcare policy, I've been involved in fiscal policy, I've obviously been, on the finance committee, etc. So, okay, I could stay away from the odds of election members being on that are unlikely. Financial services is one that, frankly, touches a lot of aspects of our society right now, so that's important. I mean, I could find a variety of things that would interest me, but I'm sort of hopefully
The recommendations done by the FDA.
What's that?
You were endorsed by the FDA.
Yes.
That's what, thank you.
Oh, sure. Yes.
If you had the opportunity, would you vote to abolish the Department of Education?
That sounds like a good idea right now. I mean, it gets to the point where something is ineffective, and then it's actively working against positive education reforms, and I see it as an opportunity, and something that has its foot, hands, however you want to describe it, completely in our, frankly, our money. And it's always just getting more thrown at it. And there are no, outcomes, there's no fiscal management, there's no accountability. It seems to me that things like that need to be completely shaken up, and one way to do that is to say, hey, we're done with this. And again, move that back where states where we can guide things up small and shape things up.
Well, I would call it unconstitutional. That federal government has the authority to manage education.
You have another question?
I think we've only got a handful of young people in here, And this economy, bad economy's been happening for about 5 years. What are some immediate solutions that you think can be implemented to help young people that have been out of work and there's a backlog of them now, that are some might say that they're unemployable. Is there one thing that you think that might help as a potential solution to help out?
I mean, that could go so many different ways, looking at the different slices of who's who, what level of education, interest, part of the country, whatever the case may be. But overall, I just think that when America's economic engine can be revved up again, and one of the areas I think that could most quickly, most instantaneously help us out in so many different ways is energy, do that enhance our national security, allow for exploration and development, innovation and creating jobs, just bring in revenue, all of that would be a great area. It ties into STEM education, it ties into all of these different things that I think would be very positive ways to move forward. So that's one. Otherwise, unfortunately, sometimes government creates jobs and it's not necessarily a positive thing. I mean, we have such a litigious society, and all of a sudden, we've seen that those graduating from law school, 80% of the graduating class, unless you or Harvard, you can't find a job. So I'm not saying we should add, more administrative and, bureaucratic and, legal issues so that suddenly there'll be more jobs, for lawyers. So, so I don't think we should, try to do it like that. I just think if we're just allowing for development in areas that are smart and relevant and important right now, then free that up. I also think reforming our tax code would help with that, because I think on both ends of the scale, when it comes to, large corporations, I mean, they suffer under, frankly, one of the highest corporate tax rates in the developed world, though the actual one, if you're big enough to hire the accountants and lawyers to get around it, you can find people, it's not as severe. But if you're a company that's trying to grow, you can't, get to that point. So first, that needs to be lowered. But we're creating this, bureaucratic and regulatory burden where people can't, businesses can't grow beyond a certain extent because they just don't have the capital to deal, with all those issues. And at the other side of it, you have people that may have a trade or a, craft or hobby, and maybe they just want to, start something small, even a restaurant, whatever, and, just earn money for themselves doing something they're good at and they like. Well, the individual tax code is really confusing and scary to many people too. I think it's a disincentive for people to try to, start that. So you end up with a situation where we're creating sort of this mass incentive and, easy way out or easy way up. Like if they were people like, well, I just want a safe job, government this or, public this, and, there's a place for some of that, but that shouldn't be the goal, I think the first 4 years of the Obama administration, they added, I think all of, was it Northern Virginia, they had like 700,000 new jobs, all of federal government. I don't think that's awesome.
So would you actually propose concrete cuts in any departments or the elimination of any departments? Because everybody says regulations are bad or they're stifling creativity, but how do we get there from here? Because some of this stuff just has to go.
Sure. I mean, a lot of it has to do with the process and, actually things you file and, I'm sure there are some that people have proposed and have just been shoved in the drawer. If you have to build consensus around it or get public behind it, whatever the case may be, then there are ones that maybe people just haven't sponsored and, need to be brought to the fore. So, I still need to learn about the parliament secretary and all that works, but I'm willing to do what needs to be done.
Thank you very much. I appreciate everybody coming here tonight and for pull that up, George, if you mind.
Is there anybody recording right now?
Yes, would you like me to take it
Don't
off?
turn it off.